Let's bring in a former Georgia congressman and Iraq War veteran, Doug Collins, and former presidential candidate and former Wisconsin governor, Scott Walker. Great to have you gentlemen here. Doug, I'll begin with you. What do we need to see from the president at this dignified transfer, besides checking his watch?
Well, he just needs to be the president. I mean, this is a very solemn time. He just needs to be there as a comforter for the family. This is a time in which, the country is watching. The country is mourning the loss of these three individuals who lost their lives in defense of our country. And they were fighting for our country and in representing our country. So I think the main thing is just be there, be the president, be the comforter that he needs to be, and then make plans after this going forward to saying, what are we going to do about it? I think that's the bigger part of where this goes from here.
Okay, Doug said what he needs to do. Scott, will this be the time when Joe Biden finally rises to a moment?
Well, I hope so. Doug's exactly right. He certainly can't be checking his watch. He needs to be dignified. But remember, we're in this situation largely because of his weakness. We used to say under both President Trump and years before under President Reagan that peace through strength. We had targeted attacks against Iran under President Trump. That was highly effective. In contrast, weakness opens the door towards evil. And we've seen it in Iran. We've seen it in Russia. The weakness of this president, unfortunately, has put our men and women in the service in harm's way. And he needs to take responsibility for that as well.
Moving on, the reason we have you two fine gentlemen on today is because there are new polls out from Fox from the battleground states in Georgia and Wisconsin, two states you know well. In Wisconsin, President Biden and former President Trump are tied in a head-to-head matchup among Wisconsin voters. And in Georgia, which Joe Biden, as you know, won in 2020, Trump leads Biden by 8 points. That's not one, that's not two, that's 8. So, Doug, Democrats have had a lot of recent success in national elections in your state. Are you surprised that Trump has such a big lead over Biden in Georgia now?
No, I'm not. And just talking to people, looking around, hearing people talk, it's not a surprise. Georgia has had some electoral losses to Democrats, especially in our Senate seat, for other reasons. There's a lot of reasons that played into that, besides Georgia becoming a purple state. All of our rest of our governor, everybody else has been reelected with fine margins. What's interesting about this number is that 51%, he's outside the margin of error, which I felt comfortable saying for a little while now. But when you broke it down even a little bit further, you're seeing Trump is getting 50% of the voters under 35. He's up at 23%, I think it was, of African-American voters. Those are numbers that if I was the Biden administration, I would be looking at saying, we've got a problem. And if you're having a problem like that in Georgia, even if those numbers, adjust a little bit, that's still a large defeat for Joe Biden in Georgia. Donald Trump will win Georgia.
If you're a Democrat almost anywhere, you're guaranteed the youth vote. The fact that he's losing by 7 points to Donald Trump speaks volumes. Meantime, in both states, the economy, of course, the issue that was most important, extremely important, according to a lot. Election integrity, though, there in Wisconsin, up there pretty high. Immigration as well. I'm going to say, Scott Walker, even in the head-to-head and pretty even on the issues. But Trump wins when you include third-party candidates in Wisconsin, and he wins pretty convincingly. That tells me the voters in your state do not want to vote for Joe Biden. So what does Donald Trump need to do to give them a reason to pull the lever for him?
Keep focused on the economy. As James Carville said several decades ago, it's the economy, stupid. That's what this is all about. Doug talked about it in his home state. The same true in Wisconsin. I think all the battleground states. At Young America's Foundation, where I'm at now, we did a poll of college students before the first Fox debate in the primary back in August when we were partnered there. And the number one issue of college students, surprisingly, I think for many, is the economy. If it's the economy for young voters, Joe Biden screwed. A referendum on the economy is a win for Donald Trump.
I think when you look at your state, Governor, young voters are going to be the difference because you have a lot of college towns in Wisconsin. Madison, as you know, typically skews very blue. It's incumbent upon Donald Trump to get votes from the young people in that state and also go into the inner cities. Milwaukee, I think it's rife for Donald Trump picking up a few votes and potentially winning Wisconsin. Great to have you two fine gentlemen, as always. Doug Collins, Scott Walker, thank you for your time. Have a great weekend.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.